Hello, and welcome back to yet another discussion of how we understand our mission in this world as mankind in general and Jews in particular. Welcome back to those of you who have listened before, to those of you who have subscribed, and of course to anyone who's new. Please like and subscribe as you wish, and let's get started. So this week we are learning from the fourth section, the fourth parsha in the fifth book of Moses, Devarim, or Deuteronomy in English. The parsha is called Re'eh, to see. And as we have been discussing in the book of Devarim, Moses is giving his farewell speech. And as we have discussed, he is now speaking directly to the Jews, whereas before God was speaking to the Jews often through Moshe. And he's getting them ready to enter the land of Israel, the land of Canaan. And in this parsha, he urges them, Re'eh, to see that God is giving them a free choice regarding their mission to bring spirituality to this world in their own makom, in their own place, that their own physical location. So one may ask the question then, obviously, are there any places in this world with inherent spirituality, and how do we bring spirituality to this world? So this is not from this parsha. It's somewhat ahead in the 30th chapter. It says, Lo b'shamayim chi. It's not in heaven. That is the Torah, the spirituality, the way of life. It's not up in the sky so that someone could say, who's going to go get this for me? It's down here. It's that we ourselves can fulfill it, both as mankind and as Jews. Okay? Having said that, then, are there inherently spiritual places in this world? It seems so. So, going back to this parsha, then, in the 11th chapter, 32nd verse, it says, Ushmartem la'asot es kol hakim ve'es hamishpatim. So, what Moses is telling the people here is, you're going to keep the commandments and the statutes and the laws. Well, the question that comes up here is like, why is Moses telling the people this? Of course they know this. They've been wandering in the desert now for 40 years. They've had the Torah almost the entire time. They know what the laws are. So that the Rav comes to help us here by saying that what he's saying is that, look, you're getting ready to go into the land of Israel. The land of Israel, as we have spoken before, is an inherently spiritual place, and some things that may not be, let's say, as big a deal outside the land of Israel are much bigger inside the land of Israel. So once you go into Israel, it's much more important. And as we've spoken before, the land of Israel and the Jewish people are one, because it cannot stand certain transgressions, it will, so to speak, vomit the people out, as we've seen in history. One of the examples that the Rav brings with regard to the spirituality inherent in the land of Israel is the story of Yaakov. So as we know, Jacob, married two sisters, Rachel and Leah, Rachel and Leah. Now, we know, according to Torah law, that that's forbidden. So how is it that our forefathers, who were told kept the laws even before they were given, how did he do this? How was that possible? So we also know from the stories much earlier in the Torah, in the 5 books of Moses, that this happened outside the land of Israel. And as soon as Yaakov was bringing his family back to Canaan, as soon as he started to cross the border, what happened? Rachel died. So we see almost direct evidence that yes, there is a place that's inherently spiritual, in particular the land of Israel. Now, okay, so if we get to land of Israel, do magnificent houses of worship, big places of worship, does that create a spiritual place? And you can probably guess from my tone and from the question that the answer is no. How do we know? So we go to the next chapter in this parsha, just in the second verse. It says there that you shall destroy all these places where the nations that you're going to possess, that's inside the land of Israel, worship their gods. Al Hacharim, Haramim, Vial Hagavot, Vitanahat, Kol Eitz Ra'anan. So the point here, again, as the Rav explains to us, is that when Jewish texts refer to pagan worship, they often associate it with these sort of aesthetics. And what we learn from that is that certainly beautiful architecture is to be appreciated and admired, but Judaism rejects the aesthetic as a source of spirituality. We derive the spirituality from within and sanctify the place from that, not the other way around. How do we know that? Well, it says here later in the same chapter, it says, "You have not come to the resting place, Hamanucha, or to your inheritance, Hala." Why are we using this sort of double language to explain what we think is the land of what should be like maybe the land of Israel? It sounds like it's our resting place and our inheritance as Jews. So again, the Rav comes to help us here and says what it's referring to here is two different places which within the land of Israel. One is Shiloh, where when the Jews crossed over into Canaan, they established the tabernacle there, and if everything had gone right, the temple actually would have been built there, were it not for the high priest Eli and the sins of his sons. And you can read about that in First Samuel. But the point there is that because of their actions, the place itself rejected the being a place of special spirituality, and it came to be actually, as we know, in Jerusalem, both for the first temple, the second temple, and God willing, the third temple. So, in summary, what do we learn? We learn that there are places that are inherently spiritual. We don't establish spirituality from aesthetics. Beautiful buildings are wonderful. And I'll say that we've all seen these gigantic, let's say, buildings, houses of worship, and sometimes that can be too much, the focus. And I've even heard some of my, let's say, Christian friends who have maybe suffered a great loss and losing their buildings say, listen, the church is not the building, the church is the people. So they themselves feel this way, that the spirituality is inherent in what we do, not in a building. And then following up, then spirituality comes from within ourselves, and thus creates the spirituality in the place itself. So with that, I wish you all a Besoros Tovos and a Shabbat Shalom. May we all reach the highest level of spirituality ourselves and establish the spirituality in this world to earn the final redemption. May it come speedily in our days.